And now on a CBS 42 News at 10 exclusive, we have the man who acquired the audio tapes. Cliff Sims with Yellowhammer is in the studio with us right now. Thanks for joining us. And before we get to you, Cliff, let's just listen to one excerpt of the recording. This one you hear the governor talking about what seems to be a text message. Let's listen.
It was fine. I mean, he couldn't. Because he could. Well, I know. He couldn't tell who I was sending it to. So, and he didn't say, hey, baby, I love you so much and I'd like to spend the rest of my life with you. And
again, Cliff Sims in with Yellowhammer talking about these recordings that set off a firestorm today, perhaps bigger than the Spencer Collier news conference. You've had these recordings for some time.
Well, I haven't had the recordings for some time. I've been aware of what happened for some time. We were actually critical at Yellowhammer for a period of time about the coverage surrounding this because we felt like it was very tabloid-esque in the sense that there was not a lot of proof. It was a lot of he said, she said. So we wanted to wait until we had rock-solid proof. We finally got that today, and that's when the audio recordings came out, and we gained access to them. And it really has just been a firestorm all day and really kind of hits to the core of the question, do we trust our leaders in office? And this is, you know, it's a remarkable story, and it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here because I think there's some questions that were alluded to by Spencer Collier today about were state resources used in this, and then you get into resignation territory.
And so there were some comments made in the governor's news conference. He spoke specifically that he leased a plane. He used his own money to lease this plane for his campaign purposes. But let's get back to the recordings because as a viewer, if you hear these, you wonder, okay, where were these made? Who made these recordings? We know that you got them from a source close to the family, but where were these recordings made?
One of the recordings was made at the Bentley's beach house. Mrs. Bentley had suspected the affair was going on for some time, so she decided what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out for a walk on the beach. I'm going to leave my phone behind and hit record, just see what happens. During that time period when she was out of the house, the governor picked up the phone, called somebody he keeps calling Rebecca on the phone, and the conversation that you hear in the recordings ensued.
Let's listen to another excerpt from this one. This sounds a little more romantic.
you know what? When I stand behind you, and I put my arms around you, and I put my hands on your breast, and I put my hands on you, and just pull you in real close. I love that too.
The governor admitted that he's the voice on the recordings, although he said he had not heard the recording. So one at the beach house. Where are the other two made?
Well, there are two that I know of. The other one, it sounds like, was recorded at their residence. Very similar in nature, making similar type comments. If we're going to do what we did last week, we probably need to start locking the door so no one can come in. We should consider moving my assistant's desk further away from the door so maybe she can't hear what's going on in here. These are the things that are happening in the governor's office in the state capitol. Where the people's business is supposed to be taken care of.
So later in our newscast, we do talk with a former prosecutor about, okay, is there anything criminal going on here, this idea, because you mentioned it yourself, that this seems like we are, you know, it's tabloidy. Are we criminalizing the governor's sex life? But one more excerpt here, and I think this is one you talked about. Let's listen.
But baby, let me tell you what we're going to have to do. We're going to start locking the door. We're going to do... If we're going to do what we did the other day, we're going to have to start locking the door.
Okay, and so Cliff, Yellowhammer has the full 2.5 minutes on your website right now, along with all of the coverage that you guys have been doing with this. We have a link so that you can hear that on our website at WIAT.com to hear the rest of it and see some of the stuff that you're talking about, because it is from a political standpoint, and I think for viewers, indeed, what's going on in Montgomery.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see where it goes from here, like I said, because if we start getting into investigations and finding out if there's state resources being used, the governor said today he's not going to step down, hadn't even considered it. But if that starts happening, again, we start getting into resignation territory then, and we may be talking Governor Kay Ivey before too long.
And not the first time that's happened in Alabama.
Indeed.
Cliff Sims, thank you for joining us,
Thanks for having me.
Yellowhammer. Jim?